Hey, it's been a month since I uploaded the first devlog. I wonder if I've hit 600 What the So yeah, the video kinda blew up. We got to 7,000 subscribers. You guys are insane. The Discord server has also reached 1,000 members, which is really good as I can interact with my community more. You guys have spammed me so much asking for a part 2 to the devlog. I'm slowly losing my sanity. I've made a ton of progress on the game since the last devlog, so let's get straight into it. If you watched the end of my last video, you would have seen this badly done start screen GUI. I of course had to fix this. After looking at some inspiration online, I made this cleaner start screen with a deploy, info and store tab that you can switch between. Don't worry, I will fill in the store and info tab later on in development. I also made a main song for the game which will play later on in the video. After the end of the last devlog, I was pretty tired of just doing scripting, so I decided to start getting a few assets so I can build a Class D building. Firstly, I found a good work light model on Sketchfab and imported it into Roblox. I then added a constant humming sound and a light beam to make it more realistic. Secondly, I wanted a ceiling light, so I made one using parts. Then I textured it and gave it a quieter constant humming sound. This will be the main light that you see in buildings. Now of course I needed to make walls, so I made a wall, indented wall, curved wall and a pillar. These each have a strip of colour on them, and this will change depending on the build. For example, the Euclid building will have orange lines and the Class D building will have blue lines. Now that the first main assets are done, I needed to make the Class D building. When a player joins the game, they'll have a Class D cell assigned just for them. There will be 16 cells in a Class D building, and there will be 2 different Class D buildings. After designing the structure of the cell, I decorated it with a bed, desk and a toilet. The cells seem pretty useless at this point, so I made an SCP document displaying system and added a random SCP document to every cell. All it does is show a close-up of the SCP document with a cool hexagon pattern and a paper sound when you pick it up. I also put a level 1 keycard in every toilet, so no one gets permanently locked in their cells. These regenerate every 30 seconds. Later on I'll give it a storage space that each individual player has for themselves, but there isn't much point in doing that right now. After I built the cells, I finished the main structure of the building. This took many hours to do, so here's a short video showing it off. I know it's pretty empty at the moment, but this is because I haven't decorated the inside of the Class D building yet. At the moment, I'm focusing on the main structure and functionality of the game, instead of the smaller details, which I'll focus on later. Now that the main structure of the Class D building is done, I wanted some outside space to test a few more things, so I made a small fence path type thing and a vehicle parking area. Now I needed to make some terrain. To keep it as optimized as possible, I'll be using Roblox terrain instead of PBR terrain kits. This is also just 1,000 times easier to do, especially with biomes. But I may do the border of the map with PBR terrain, like this. Since the game has to be somewhat realistic, there will be a day and night cycle. I made this simple script that updates the clock time every second. There's also a GUI on top of every player's screen that updates every 15 seconds. Right now there isn't much actual gameplay, so I added a leveling system with XP. Now when you level up, you get some cash. Here's an example. Okay, let's open the gate. Rick Astley! Oh my god, you've made me rich! Your level will be used to give you access to the Euclid and Kita area later on in gameplay. Now I needed to add some kind of weapon, cause what is an SCP game without weapons? I decided to add a dagger and found a good model on Sketchfab. I imported it into Roblox after adding a bone to it in Blender. Just like every other tool I'll have to import to the game, I made an animation for holding it and an animation for slicing with it. This one is really bad, but that's because I'm thinking of getting a better working view model online later on. After I finished those, I added the animations to the model. Look at that smooth hand transition. Now I simply needed to make it functional. This is easily done with a raycast, so I just made it deal 10 damage and add a blood particle to the hit. Here's the finished product. Now that the general area is done, I wanted to add a zombie model to the game, representing SCP-0082, or some kind of SCP zombie. As usual, I needed to get the model, so I headed to Sketchfab, scrolled for a bit, and found a good zombie model called Rob. Sadly, Rob costs $15, but I can't find any other good zombie model, so it'll have to do. He fits all of the requirements to be imported into Roblox, so I purchased him and downloaded the file. Firstly, I wanted to see how beautiful and detailed the model is in Blender, so I imported the file. Huh? It's just a plane. What? Where's the zombie? What's that? What? No! I was scammed. Now I needed to go through the whole process of customer support. Here we go. Report abuse on a model. Okay, Hey there. Your website is trash. You gave me bad model. Now refund me or else something bad happens. Lots of love, Darky. Kiss hug, kiss hug, kiss hug. There we go, that should be fine. It did take over a day, but at last they replied. Hi Darky, thank you for reaching out. Currently, Sketchfab does not offer refunds or purchases made in the store. We offer as many features as we can for buyers to make sure they are purchasing what they need, including the model inspector and the details on each model page. However, I spoke to the store team and they're willing to make an exception here. Finally, I managed to get a refund. Phew, I'm never buying stuff off Sketchfab again. After the whole scam thing, I decided to just look for a worse but free model on Sketchfab. Yes, I know I'm using Sketchfab. I did look on other websites, but they were all out of my budget, or they're just really bad. After finding a decent model, I imported it into Mixamo, found a zombie animation pack, and imported it into Roblox Studio. I added an AI script that I made a month or two ago, then I changed it up a bit and added a health bar. Here's the finished product. These will just constantly roam outside, but I may add a blood moon feature or an SCP breach that spawns in a ton of zombies in the future. Lastly, I needed to make some kind of faster transportation, because as you can see the map is pretty big. I thought it would be cool to try and make a hovercar so the game is somewhat futuristic. For the 1000th time, I went back to Sketchfab and found a good hovercar model that was also low poly. This was pretty easy to import into Roblox, and I just changed some of the colours to make it look better. After that, I made a button that spawns the car in if nothing is blocking the spawning area. This was pretty easy to do too. Now I needed to script the actual hovercar. The problem with this is that I have no idea how to do this, and I'm not great at physics. So I decided to just see if someone else could do it for me, then I could edit it to my likings. I went and asked my Discord server if any of them could help me make a hovercar, and someone said they had a module already and were willing to give it to me. So he gave the module to me. I changed a bit of the code to implement it into my hovercar model. After adding a futuristic humming sound, here's the basic mock-up of the car. I think that's enough for this video. These videos take a lot of effort to make, so please consider liking and subscribing. If you want future updates, join the Discord. You can also suggest new features for the game in the Discord. I'd also like to thank my one patron, Millhouse. It's crazy that you're supporting me this early in my YouTube career. Thank you so much. Anyway, that's all for now. Bye.